we are the last thing, right?
Yeah.
Excited.
Right.
The end of
Guys getting ready?
Save the best for last, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I said. We better finish it well.
Hey, presentation.
Some firms work very hard to position themselves to be the last one.
That's right.
Yeah, wow, okay. We got lucky.
Well, here
Great.
we go.
Okay, so over here.
Okay. Oh, okay. Just doing left and right buttons. Sounds just a simple click. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Havela Advisors. We are here today to discuss our company, Titan, and its subsidiary, Jupiter. My name is Philip Tassi. This is Lisa Liu, Lee Kun Fan, and Havish Kumar. We are all partners at the firm, and I'd like to get started. Wrong button, there we go. So our company, or our client, is in the multimedia, or is in the marketing business. Their subsidiary is in the direct mail business. This industry is a relatively competitive one, with the driving force being the inter-industry rivalry. There's a low firm concentration, and while we are the industry leader, or our client is the industry leader, there's low growth and a lot of competitors, which is the driving force here. So while it is a competitive industry, it's one where our client is positioned well in. In order to grow, our client faces three options. They can grow organically, they can maintain the status quo. As the current industry leader, they face no pressing issues to their business. They're not fighting for survival. They're doing well, so they can stay the course if they choose to. However, in order to grow at a faster pace, they have looked into acquiring Lightning LLC. Lightning is a regional direct mail competitor with a superior commingling technology that will improve our margin, or improve our clients' margins by decreasing the cost of sales. This transaction would be facilitated by the favorable credit markets we're currently seeing in the market. While our client was investigating this transaction, we received an offer from a Los Angeles-based private equity group that we believe to be interested in acquiring their subsidiary because of because we believe that there will be favorable synergies with one of their portfolio companies. Their initial offer was a guaranteed $560 million in cash, so this is something we considered going forward. After we ran our analysis, we believed that it would be in our client's best interest to sell to Charter Capital. The reasons for this is our discounted cash flow model places a significant premium on the company based on Charter Capital's offer. That is in line with the comparable transactions model and the comparable companies model that we created. Therefore, we would recommend to our client that they should sell the business to Charter Capital. With the technical analysis, I will hand it off to Lee Kun for the DCF.
Great, thank you, Phil. So here's the dry part. I'll try to make it interesting, try my best. So here you can see, I want to remind you our options again. So our first option is that we'll maintain the status quo, which is Jupiter's standalone value. So in order to do that, we ran a discounted cash flow model. So here are our key assumptions. As you can see, what I want to point out is the terminal growth rate, we keep that as at 2.5%, and weighted average cost of capital, 10%. So we ran the analysis, and here in this table here, we have our cash flows, and the enterprise value arrived at roughly $385 million for Jupiter. So this is option one, and I want to remind you that we also have the third option, which is $560 million offer from Charter. So it seems like a significant premium. So when are we indifferent between the two options? So so what we did is we ran a sensitivity analysis here, and as you can see, this number 564 is very close to Charger's offer. So if we arrive at that valuation, that will give us that will change our assumptions. WACC to 8%, terminal growth rate to 2.9%. We don't see this is realistic for Jupiter. This is not. This can be our assumptions because they're too high and way off from our original assumptions. So we believe Jupiter cannot go this route because it is much lower valuation, 385, than what Charger's offer. So Charger's offer is better than maintaining the status quo. So next, what we did was a DCF for the combined company. So that was our option 2, which is Jupiter acquire Lightning. So we made some changes to the key assumptions for the acquisition. As you can see, Jupiter's sales will grow at an additional 6% in 2017, but it will decline at a rate of 1% until for the next 5 years of the DCF. And our cost of goods sold as a percentage of sales will be 73.2%, which is after adapting Lightning's efficiency technology that will bring our cost of goods sold down. And as G&A, Jupiter will only adapt half of Lightning's SG&A, which is about 8 million per year. So terminal growth rate and WACC remains the same. That gives us a valuation of the combined company before we paid Lightning of $602 million. So what does that number tell us? Next, we did 2 sensitivity analysis. So how much are we paying for Lightning? We're paying them 11 times EBITDA. So that number comes up to $193 million, excuse me. So what we have here is 602 as our combined company before paying Lightning. And then Charger's offer price is 560. So if we put how much we're going to pay Lightning, 200 million or 193, to that 560, we'll receive a indifference point between the two options, option 2 and 3. So we will have, that means a $760 million offer for the combined company before we pay Lightning. So in the first sensitivity analysis, that gives us, you can see here, 740. So at the WACC of 9% and the terminal growth rate roughly 3%. We found this not very realistic again. And also for the second sensitivity analysis, cost of goods sold, that will arrive, here's that 748 or roughly 760 again. 72.2 cost of goods sold as a percentage of sales and growth rate of 8%. So we don't think these are reasonable assumptions. So that's why we cannot achieve those indifference points with option 3. So in conclusion, for the DCF, option 1 will give us 385. Option 2 will give us roughly 409 with that 193 we pay to Lightning, but option 3, which is Charger's offer, is obviously a more attractive deal for Jupiter from this discounted cash flow model. So next I'll pass on to Lisa, who will focus on the comparables and transaction multiples.
Thank you, Li-Kun. So now we're going to go through comparable company analysis and precedent transaction analysis. So what we did first is that we cast a broad net in this sector, and then we picked all the companies, but then we narrowed them down from 14 companies to only 3 based on their business profiles and financial statistics. So what we did is we spread their financials and ratios, and we benchmarked them against Jupiter's in order to see which are the closest peers. So we chose 3 companies, which are ARC, Inner Workings, and St. Ives. So what we did then is we took their trading multiples to derive a valuation range for Jupiter. Normally in this sector, we would use companies would be traded on their forward multiples. So that's why we took the 2016's EV EBITDA and EV sales. But we also look at their historical multiples. So that's why we took also the last 12 months multiples. So after applying these multiples, we picked the most representative number for Jupiter, which is around $350. So around that line. So that would be the comparable analysis for Jupiter. And we did the same analysis for Lightning because Lightning has a very similar business profile and financial profile compared to the 3 comparable companies as well. So we derived at $103 million for Lightning, where we will come to the conclusion that if we really want to pay Lightning for 11 times EBITDA, we will be much overpaying. And so we don't want to do that because that will jeopardize shareholders' value. So option 2 is not optimal either. So if we go back to precedent transactions, they're very similar. So we picked all the transactions within this sector, and then we narrow them down using their, by analyzing their circumstances and their deal dynamics that are similar to this transaction that's probably going to happen after we acquire Lightning. So we picked 3 transactions, company 3, 5, and 7. And again, we took their multiples as well. But then one thing to notice is that using precedent transactions, normally they will give us a higher valuation compared to comparable company analysis because there are synergies and there are control premiums we're going to pay. However, in our case, we still took the mean of these 2 different methods because after our calculation, we come to the conclusion that using transaction multiples, valuations are relatively residing within the range of the valuation if we use comparable company analysis. And then we come to the third option, which is being acquired by a private equity firm who's going to pay us $560 million. So what we did is just like what Quinn said. We took Jupiter's income statement, and then we also added up the realized synergy if we acquire Lightning. So that would give us around $600 million, so which is before we pay into Lightning. So that means if we want to be indifferent between option 2 and 3, we have to be paying Lightning for like around $40 million. And this is a very unlikely case because the intrinsic value using comparable company analysis for Lightning is around $100 million. They're not gonna be happy with that. So our optimal option would be to use option 3, which is take the offer from Chartered Capital's $560 million because that would give us the maximized shareholders value. So now I'm going to pass on to Havish to talk a little bit more about LBO analysis.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we know we have seen DCF, we've seen comparables, we've seen transactions, but we need to look at some analysis which gives us Charger's point of view, because Charger definitely stands to gain something from this deal because they're ready to pay $560 million, and we've seen it's a considerable premium attached to it. Now we know Jupiter's bank codes. We've taken those. We built out a debt structure which ends in the next 5 years. We've taken the transaction multiples that we get, the EV by EBITDA values, and at the end of 5 years, we take the debt. We have our DCF. Now, one point to notice here is we know Charger has some synergies from this deal because it has a subsidiary which works in the same industry. We don't know exactly what. So to be conservative. We've taken the DCF, the projections that we see, the normal projections of Jupiter for the next 5 years. Using that, removing the debt structure and everything, we found that the enterprise value of Jupiter comes to $564 million, which is very close to Charger's offer, $560 million. Again, we've done a sensitivity analysis with IRR 20%. We've seen how the enterprise value of Jupiter varies with the exit multiple. The exit multiple here being the EBITDA, and that EBITDA depends on the kind of synergies that Charger sees. So even though we have a firm value of 564 at the end of 5 years, let's say Charger sells, it gets a profit of somewhere around 281 million. But if you add the synergies, whatever synergies that Charger expects from this deal, that number of 564 million is just going to go up. So what do we get from this? The $560 million offer that Charger is giving Jupiter is a good one. It has significant premium attached to it, but we believe that there is potential for that offer price to go up. Yeah, so to
So
conclude.
can you speak for a second about the leverage assumptions that you used in your LBO analysis?
Leverage, yeah. So we have the bank codes. The bank codes a senior loan of 3x EBITDA and subordinated loan of 1x EBITDA, and they also have an option to take revolver. What we found out was if we do not take the entire 3x EBITDA from the senior loan, we distribute that amongst revolver. $60 million, $100 million is your senior loan. You get the optimal debt at the end of 5 years. So that's one of the main assumptions that we've taken in the leverage schedule. And also in the subordinated loan, we've taken the highest possible interest. It says 10 to 12%. To be conservative, we've taken 12%. So at the least, you're gonna get $564 million. So to conclude, we've seen the DCF, we've seen comparable, we've seen transaction multiples. All say the same story. It's better to sell Jupiter to Charger for the $560 million, but given what we've seen in the LBO analysis, we feel if you take the $560 million, there are chances that you're leaving money on the table. So we would say there's a possibility if you go and renegotiate, because this being their first initial bid, which is unsolicited, so there's a chance that the offer after negotiations may go up. Thank you.
You guys have done a good job talking about maximizing shareholder value. Have you thought at all about preserving the family legacy? I know that's a big issue for our board as well.
I'll take this. Yeah, we did, because the family owns the conglomerate. We believe that this is just a piece of this. So by maximizing shareholder value, it increases the chances that the conglomerate will stay healthy and that he will be able to pass it down to his children later.
And I think the owner also said if the price is right, they would still be willing to sell the company. And we believe 560 is already a pretty good deal. And if Titan is willing to negotiate, because this is the unsolicited offer from Charger, there's definitely room to negotiate. So you can have an even higher price than 560. So that's why we decided to sell. Yes.
So following your recommendation, you said that if we go back and negotiate, well, what are you going to do for us if we hire you as an investment bank? In other words, you believe that there's room to increase the purchase price.
We believe that.
So if we hire you, what are you going to do for us?
First of all, since this is just the initial bid, we'll first make an appointment, take a meeting. We meet, and given what the shareholders think of this, and if they are willing to talk, the Titan shareholders, if they're willing to talk, we are ready to go to them, sit at a neutral table and talk it out, and we will tell them that we think the firm value at the end of 5 years is much more than that, than just 560 that you're giving us. Jupiter being the largest player in the industry, we also have the options of organic growth, are acquiring. So definitely, if charger feels that there's a deal here, then the offer price must go up.
Yeah, and also probably we can also tweak the number a little bit because using our sensitivity analysis table, there is still room for increasing our value. So we can change our assumption to the more aggressive because we have been conservative based on what's been given us from the case. So after doing that, we can be more convincing why we want to demand more money.
And
Can you tell us, in the terminal growth rate assumption of, I think it was
2.5%.
2.5%, why that number? What's that based on?
We believe the industry, so that's the terminal growth rate.
Mhm.
So we will have a 5% in the projection years, which is 5 years in our horizon. But in the long term, that will be 2.5% because direct mail services, it is relatively stable, but it's still correlated with how the economy is. And currently, we don't see a GDP growth rate of the US above 3% or roughly around 3%. And plus, this is a mature industry, so that's why we decided 2.5% is a reasonable assumption for terminal growth rate.
Yes, and we also did a kind of a sanity check because if we apply 2.5 growth, then we also derived at a EV/EBITDA. We see whether this multiple is within the normal range of the peers, and then we just compare these two to see whether the 2.5% is really reasonable.
Yeah, from the comparables, you can see 385 is right around the middle of the comparables, so that's a fairly, it's not an aggressive projection, it's not a very conservative
It's in the ball.
either. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.